Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday, where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Good for Bitcoin, your weekly pulse on Bitcoin innovation. We are live. Bitcoin hit $73,000 this morning. It's gone down a little bit since then, but Crypto Fear and Greed Index still says that we are in extreme fear, which for us means that it is the best time to be building on Bitcoin. I'm Brandon, joined as always by Kate. Kate, how was your week?
Okay, Brandon, it was a good week. Another Friday the 13th. We've had a lot of these recently.
We have.
Total side note, unrelated to Bitcoin, but I thought if we're going to give away some alpha on here, here's some real alpha. Chipotle is giving away a buy one, get one meal right now. So if you show up with a tattoo, even if it's temporary, you can get 2 meals for the price of one. So that's the greed of the show.
Listen, I mean, Bitcoin is down. We're all going to McDonald's. Maybe with this coupon, we'll go to Chipotle.
There you go.
We'll not get extra guac though.
No guac allowed. But yeah, I saw that on the timeline and I was like, that's some good information that we should be sharing. So
that's valuable to kick it off. I'm also supposed to be getting a haircut today, which I'm very excited about.
Nice.
I'm sure you have noticed how long my hair has gotten. I was funny.
Yeah,
I was looking at the show. I was looking at the show on YouTube and looking at all the thumbnails, and you can just see progressively how
the evolution
long my hair has gotten.
Yep.
I'm in desperate need of a haircut. So
That's
really
funny.
looking forward to that. Next week we'll be fresh. But yeah, lots going on this week. Feel like it was a pretty positive week overall, news wise. Just the vibes. I feel like the vibes are up a little bit.
Yep.
I don't know if that's just because of price or not, but the 20 millionth Bitcoin was mined this week, which is pretty interesting. To mine the remaining 1 million Bitcoins, it's going to take 114 years, though, because it's an exponential curve. So,
yep.
Yeah.
And there's never going to be a final piece of Bitcoin mined, right? Because it'll just keep dividing forever. Isn't that the whole thing?
I think it'll eventually get there, but it's going to take 114 years. It's going to take a really long time. That last 1,000 Bitcoin or whatever will probably take maybe 10 years, or I don't know what the math is, but it'll take a really long time.
Yeah
for that last little bit to get mined before we're completely relying on transaction fees.
Well, we will be gone before then unless Brian Johnson figures out the formula to
That's right. Yeah.
boost our longevity to forever.
Yeah. So Bitcoin miners have 114 years to figure out how to stay profitable on only transaction fees.
That's funny.
Well, we got to talk about all the public companies buying Bitcoin, of course, starting with Strategy. They've been ramping up their purchases. So they announced a 3,000 BTC buy last week and almost 18,000 Bitcoin bought this week. So they now hold 738,731 BTC. And I've been noticing on the timeline this week that people are starting to, I don't know how they're doing it because this hasn't really been a thing, but they're starting to track or see that Sailor is actively buying each day. I don't know if you've noticed that too, but they're starting to track Strategy's movements, I guess, a little bit more closely. I think they're maybe estimating it based on what STRC is doing and how much they're able to buy based on that. But we're starting to get to the day updates now on Strategy buying with speculation there.
All right. And then we have Pomp with ProCap Financial. They bought 450 BTC last week, and they're continuing to buy back their shares to try and close their NAV. So we have a quote from Pomp here saying, "We're doing two things at the same time, buying Bitcoin to average down our total cost basis and buying back our own stock when the market misprices it. Both actions are accretive." I've never heard this word in my life. That's funny. Accretive to our shareholders.
I'm trying to sound smart.
Keep it simple. Our disciplined approach to our balance sheet has put us in a position to play offense now that Bitcoin has significantly fallen from the all-time high. So, interesting approach. You're basically just saying the market is mispricing both Bitcoin and the stock of their price, or the price of their stock.
I just looked on Bitcoin Treasury. So I was trying to see like what is their NAV. I think it says that their NAV is over 1 now. Bitcoin Treasury says that it's 1.021. So it's like just over. So that means that like the Bitcoin that they're holding is just as valuable as like the company itself, which is like kind of makes sense that it should be that, but seems like it's working for them. So it's good for them.
There you go.
We haven't done like a NAV update in a while.
No, we haven't.
On everybody. We should maybe do that next week.
Yeah.
Strive revealed a 179 BTC purchase. They now hold 13,311 BTC. They also announced, which I thought was very interesting, that they themselves purchased $50 million worth of STRC, basically putting a third of their treasury, their USD, into an asset that is now yielding 11.5% APY. So I don't know how I feel about this, like Bitcoin companies buying other Bitcoin companies' things to like collectively raise the price of both things.
Yeah.
But it's happening. So,
feels a little house of cards, but
yeah, because Strive has their own thing, their own like STRV or something else that Strive is doing this too, the STRC thing also. So yeah, it's a little interesting. We'll keep an eye on that, I guess.
We have a Capital B with a little purchase of 2 Bitcoin. We love to see.
Yeah, love that. And the SmarterWeb company bought 3 BTC this past week. So that is your public company Bitcoin accumulation news. So let's get into the real news. This one, I think, was it kind of flew under the radar a little bit. This first one, I'm going to wait for the page to load. I don't know, maybe it was Twitter. Is Twitter
because
down?
we talked about this like a couple weeks ago. There was it almost got like floated out into the community a little bit, because I remember writing about this in Stack Snacks, and then it seemed like there was more of like a more formal push about it. So
yeah, we missed this last week because we were out, but yeah, basically USDCX is coming to Allbridge. So, Allbridge has been kind of OGs in the stablecoin, Stacks ecosystem for a while. AEUSDC was what Stacks sort of relied on before we had USDCX launching this year. So Allbridge is now recommending, moving to USDCX just because that's where the liquidity is, that's where all the app support is, and they are themselves going to support USDCX now. And where this is really cool is right now, if you go to like the official USDCX bridge, you can currently only bridge from Ethereum. But because Allbridge is supporting it now, you can bridge USDC and USDT from all these different chains like Ethereum and Solana and Base and Binance Smart Chain and Tron and Sui and Polygon and all these other chains. So really awesome for liquidity and for onboarding. Just makes it super, super easy to bring your stablecoins into Stacks and make them more productive there. So pretty cool.
Yeah, this is just a step in the right direction. And if you've used AEUSDC before and now you're using USDCX, you can notice like a significant improvement in UX and just when you're obviously all of our apps are adopting USDCX, but when you add a bridge like this, that just opens you up to so many more ecosystems, and then you have an ecosystem that's designed around USDCX. It's much better for the user experience.
Yeah, and it's just nice to have like choice, right? You don't have to use the official bridge. You have like different providers that you can use that are like Allbridge is like, huge, right? They're kind of more trusted bridge provider in the space. So nice to see that. I think Wormhole is still like another one that is like coming down the pipeline as well. That was announced. So yeah, it'll be nice to have all these different bridges, let the Bitcoin and the stable coins flow.
Okay, I'm excited to hear about this next one. It's like an update from a previous show we did. So
we have an update on Lick. I'm going to share the photo here. There he is.
I got that.
So we talked about this, back in January. So for those that maybe missed it, his real name is John DeGita. He goes by Lick online. He had allegedly stolen $40 million worth of crypto from the US government in this really bizarre case. And it was like Zach XBT was like tracking it, and it turned into this big investigation. So basically, reporting from Zach XBT showed this guy Lick flaunting millions of dollars in crypto, allegedly saying that he stole it from a address that was like a US government seizure address. So this was like seized Bitcoin, that the US government was like holding on to. And where it gets crazy is John's dad, Dean DeGita, is the president of this company, Command Services and Support, which currently has an active IT government contract in Virginia. And they were basically awarded this contract to assist the US Marshal Service in managing and disposing of seized and forfeited crypto assets. So it's unclear exactly, how Lick acquired it. But the connection is like pretty obvious, right? It's like his dad that maybe has some of this information that he maybe, inadvertently got, stolen from. But yeah, so after all this investigation from Zach XBT, now it appears that Lick has been licked.
I hate that.
Yeah. So yeah, he has been arrested. Look at all these ledgers and treasures and stuff that that came. But yeah, FBI Director Kash Patel came out and said that they had made the arrest. So justice maybe has been served. Crazy.
I mean, like, the bigger part of this story is really that, like, the US government didn't really know that this was happening, right? It's really Zach that, like,
yes,
unfolded this whole thing. And if he did not, Lick would still be licking.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of the things that Trump had sort of promised when getting into office, was that they were going to do a sort of audit of all of their Bitcoin reserves. And it doesn't really seem like that has happened, because if that had happened, yeah, they would have much better accounting and much better tracking of these things. And they would certainly notice if $40 million of Bitcoin and crypto was removed from their wallets. So, I mean, they have the treasures and the ledgers there, so maybe they'll be able to, recover that stuff eventually. But yeah, pretty crazy story.
Very crazy.
But yeah, let's talk about Clarity Act. Gotta update everybody on that.
Okay. So Clarity Act, as we all know, passed back in July. It had a strong bipartisan vote. And really what it's doing is drawing the line between what the SEC regulates and then what the CFTC regulates in crypto. So everybody wants it, but it's very much stuck in the Senate right now. And the reason is because of stablecoins. Banks are really terrified that if stablecoin platforms can pay 4 to 5% yield, then people are going to take their money out of saving accounts in the banks. And those are the deposits that banks really rely on for lending and stuff like that. So it's their whole business model. So right now we have, I think, 40 plus banking associations that are spending like millions and millions of dollars lobbying to kill what they called this yield loophole with stablecoins. We had the Genius Act that was already passed that is banning stablecoin issuers from paying interest. Exchanges found this workaround, and they're just calling it loyalty rewards, or some like platform incentives, might be different depending on the platform you use, instead of interest. And so those are paying anywhere from like 3 to 5% right now. And so banks really want this loophole closed, and crypto and like all of the big names behind crypto are saying, well, if you close that, then you kind of kill the entire point of stablecoins. So the White House is stepping in, and they're trying to, compromise a little bit, allowing yield on stablecoins that are being actively used in payments and DeFi, and then ban any yield that is that could be accrued on like idle balances. So any stablecoins that are not being used and are just sitting there like a savings account would act. It seems like crypto firms are saying like, fine, but then the ABA rejected it on March 5th. And so we're really in this stalling period. The big problem is that it's a midterm year. And so the Senate will basically stop actioning on anything if it doesn't get passed by August. And this one is obviously kind of controversial. So the Treasury Secretary Bessent is really pushing for a spring signing and to like get this over the line. But if the banking committee doesn't move on it by May or June, this whole act is likely going to be dead for probably another year or so. So we'll see what happens. I mean, like, there's a Fairshake, which is like the big crypto pack. They have like a ton of cash on hand that I think that they will use for lobbying as well. And then, yeah, what I find was extremely ironic about all of this is that we'll talk about it a little bit later, but Wells Fargo, who is like obviously in the banking association, is filing for like a trademark, but they are part of this coalition lobbying against crypto stablecoin yield. While they're basically saying, no, stablecoins should not be earning yield, they're building their own and basically just saying, use our stablecoin, not the one that you want to use. So very ironic behavior from the banks. But that's the update on the Clarity Act.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that they're just trying to stifle competition with this. I just looked on Polymarket. Right now, the Clarity Act has a 59% chance of being signed into law by 2026, and it's gone up a little bit over the past, I don't know, few months, I guess. So, yeah, we'll continue to track it. You know, everybody in the U.S., I think that's in crypto, is paying pretty close attention to this. You know, you have like folks like Brian Armstrong that are kind of seen as kind of like the voice, you know, one of the main drivers behind trying to get this passed. And Coinbase is one of the main ones that, you know, if you hold USDC, I think it's just USDC on Coinbase, you know, you earn interest on it. But I'm sure that people will find ways to, like, they'll find workarounds to still offer this in some way. Like if you're on like Robinhood, there's like this feature that they have that allows you to like earn interest on your untraded, what they call like your untraded like capital. So, you know, if you're trading in and out, you know, you have like some money, US dollars, like, you know, maybe sitting on the sidelines, you earn like an interest on that, like you would in a savings account.
Yep.
So that's, you know, you could argue that's like active, right? And that's not being like passively held like a, you know, savings account. So I don't know. I'm sure that they'll find like some ways around it like that, but yeah. We'll see. I saw another argument that I thought was interesting, which is that if you have like good intentions and you care about like the industry and you care about like crypto people, you obviously want to see, you know, this part of it, you know, get passed where, you know, people are able to earn interest on stablecoins. But if you are a stablecoin issuer and you are not allowed to give your users interest, that means that you are, as the issuer, just pocketing the interest. And so like it's kind of good for them financially if it doesn't you know, go through. But of course, I think crypto people have a little bit stronger fundamentals, and they care a little bit more about that stuff, and they're not just only concerned about making money, hopefully. So but yeah, I thought that was interesting that like, oh yeah, like if kind of either way, like they technically benefit, which is interesting. Just the users don't, the holders don't. So yeah, but yeah, we'll continue to track it. I mean, yeah, hopefully we see some movement. And yeah, it does kind of seem like it's stalled a little bit. So not a lot going on there.
Some other big news.
Yeah, I mean, I guess speaking of banks, you know, the things are starting to converge. We saw Kraken has now become the first digital asset bank to receive a Federal Reserve master account, which is huge. So Kraken Financial, which is their Wyoming chartered bank, they now have direct access to the U.S. Federal Reserve payment system. This basically gives them the ability to settle between banks directly on Fedwire, which is sort of like the bank and institution only rails, kind of similar to like ACH, how people pay through ACH or through wires. So Fedwire is like the bank version of that. So this reduces their dependency on correspondent banks and obviously gives them like a lot more legitimacy as an operating bank. This quote from Arjun Sethi, their CEO, I thought was interesting. It says, over time, he said, over time, this architecture could enable atomic settlement between fiat and crypto, institutional grade cash management integrated with digital asset custody, and programmable financial products built within a fully regulated framework. This is what it looks like when crypto infrastructure matures into core financial infrastructure. So pretty cool stuff. Again, it's just like the lines are continuing to get slightly blurred between what is a like CeFi, you know, traditional like TradFi, I guess, company, and what is like a crypto company. So pretty cool stuff there for Kraken.
It'll be interesting to see like how this affects a lot of other crypto companies because, you know, like before this, like almost every crypto exchange in the US would need to have banking relationships. And that was obviously a huge thing with Operation Choke Point 2.0. Yeah. And, they didn't need to ban crypto. They just needed to like pressure banks into dropping their clients. So now that, Kraken has the direct pipeline, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be pressure put on them. Maybe like in future administrations, we'll have to see like how that would play out. But it definitely is like a more crypto friendly banking option for other crypto companies.
100%. Yeah, with Choke Point and with like, all the aftermath of like FTX and everything, we saw like multiple banks get shut down.
Yeah.
We saw like Silicon Valley Bank and then Silvergate. And Silvergate was one of the main ones that they had this feature. I forget what the product was called, but basically it allowed their customers to move capital between themselves like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Which is not typical of banks. Banks are always like 5 days a week, bad hours. They're like closed more than they're open technically. So Silvergate had this feature, so all these crypto companies all used Silvergate, and then Silvergate was then targeted by Choke Point and eventually got shut down. What their CEO is talking about, is like being able to do this, like at any time of day, potentially. Like that's what we'd want to see, right? Because crypto operates 24/7, so we need that 24/7 framework to come back to the banking system.
Yep. All right, let's get into some quick headlines that we've seen this week. The first one here is the New York Stock Exchange parent company ICE invests into Bitcoin exchange OKX at a $25 billion valuation. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on with this one?
No, not really. I just think, that $25 billion, it's a huge evaluation for OKX. Yeah. And again, it's just like these companies are getting further entrenched into crypto, right? Yeah. Either through investing in them, acquiring them, building out their own infrastructure. So it's just pretty cool to see. And then, this one that you already mentioned, Wells Fargo has filed this trademark for WFUSD, which is a trademark that's going to cover crypto trading, payments, and tokenization services. So still a trademark. It's not like they're launching a product or anything, but it's kind of an indication of maybe things to come. But yeah, very ironic that they're simultaneously trying to stop stablecoin growth by shutting down crypto interest on stablecoins while trying to launch their own.
Yeah. The next one, we probably could have done a little segment on this one because this has been flooding the timeline a little bit. But if anyone has seen on Aave, one of their users, what we call fat fingered, a $50 million purchase because of spreads. So they tried to swap $50 million and only ended up with 324 Aave, which is about 35,000. And they paid $600,000 in fees. So the Aave interface worked as it was supposed to. Like it came up and it gave them a warning and said, this is like an insane amount of slippage. And they clicked the confirmation box. I think they were doing it on their phone. So this is crazy though. I mean, yeah, I think the Aave team said that they were going to return like the $600,000 in fees. But I don't know. In my perspective, like this is both like a horrendous like look for DeFi and UX and everything, but also proof that like DeFi works exactly as it says it does.
Computers are going to do exactly what you tell them to do. That's kind of how things work. Yeah, I saw this tweet from Stani, who's the Aave founder, talking about this situation, and so crazy. Like there's so many things that went wrong with this, right? Like one, he talked about the fact that this person was doing it from their phone. So that means that they had $50 million on their phone.
Crazy.
That they were trying to trade. And then, they bypassed the slippage warnings and got a 99.9% haircut on the trade. And they came out and said that Aave would be reimbursing the $600K in fees that the user paid. I mean, that's obviously a small percentage of the 50 million that they ended up losing to only have 324 Aave remaining. Yeah. Pretty crazy. And then I saw this other follow-up one on the person on the other side of that trade. They did like, MEV stuff to basically, I guess, acquire that Aave or acquire that USDC from the trade. And then that MEV bot or whatever ended up pocketing almost $10 million from that. So somebody on the other side scored pretty big on that trade.
This is the downside of being your own bank.
Yeah. Yep. It's very true.
Crazy. Yep.
Yeah, I saw this other one too. Shout out to Jake for tweeting this out. Babylon had a nearly 50% reduction in their TVL just in the last 24 hours. The outflow of $1.64 billion. So the way that Babylon worked is they launched last year, and a lot of you had to stake, your Bitcoin, but it was locked for a certain amount. So a lot of those locks, I guess, freed up this week, and so a lot of people basically pulled out as soon as they could.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main reason for that is just the APRs or the APYs are really terrible on Babylon, which I think we've talked about recently. They've gone down a lot, from their highs when they had first launched, and they're basically zero. They're 0.05% is what the chart here says. And it was also paid out in the baby token and not in native Bitcoin, like people prefer to be paid out in. So yeah, because of all that factors, yeah, tons of outflows on Babylon this week. So super interesting just to see how quickly, something like this can happen. Like, to have a 50% reduction in TVL is really massive.
Yeah. Yeah, this will be a one to watch for sure. But yeah, I mean, that's what happens, right?
That's right. What's the sustainable yield, right? That's the name of the game.
That is the name of the game.
Cool. Well, I think that is a good place to leave it. We will see you all next week. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Go to goodforbitcoin.com. Go subscribe to the show on Spotify and YouTube and all the places. You'll find all the links there. And we will see y'all next week.
Awesome. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.